Hey, welcome. Today we're digging into something pretty fundamental, how we're actually taught. Because it turns out there are really two completely different blueprints for education, two competing ideas that shape pretty much everything, from what's on the syllabus to how you're graded on the final exam.
So I want you to think back to your own school days for a second. Was it all about hitting those specific targets and acing the tests? Or was it more about the journey, the actual experience of discovering something new? That question right there gets to the very heart of the two models we're breaking down in this explainer. All right, here's the game plan. We'll start by defining these two big ideas. First, we'll get into what's called the product model. Then we'll flip the script and look at the process model. After that, we'll put them head to head to see how they stack up. And finally, we'll tackle the big question: which way is the right way? Okay, let's kick things off with the product model. The best way to think about this is to imagine education as a super detailed architectural plan, right? Every single part is planned out, every step has a very specific purpose, and that final building, the outcome, that's the one and only goal. So it all comes down to that one word: outcomes. In this model, learning is basically a means to an end. You figure out exactly what you want a student to know or be able to do, and then you design the whole curriculum backwards from that very specific, predefined goal. And this is where you really see the DNA of this approach. The objectives aren't fuzzy, they are crystal clear. The path is all planned out ahead of time. And how do we know if it worked? Well, we measure success with a test. It's all very structured, very predictable. This whole way of thinking is often linked to theorists like Benjamin Bloom, whose work on learning objectives really became a cornerstone for this style.
And yeah, this shows you just how linear it is. It's a clean four-step process. Step one, you decide what students must know. Step two, you plan how you're going to teach it. Step three, you teach it. And step four, you test them to see if they got it. It's a very logical A to B to C kind of progression.
Now, let's totally switch gears and look at the second blueprint, because this one paints a completely different picture. This is the process model, and here the journey is the destination. With this model, the focus shifts big time. It moves away from the end result and puts the learning experience itself front and center. It's not just about what you learn, but how you learn it. We're talking exploration, problem solving, active engagement. The process is the whole point. You can just feel the different energy here, can't you? This model's all about being flexible, about student-led discovery. It's really rooted in the work of thinkers like John Dewey, who was a huge advocate for learning by doing. Instead of just being a sponge for information, the learner is an active participant. The goal isn't just to know a fact, but to develop a much deeper understanding and the skills to keep on learning. Okay, so we've met our two contenders. Now it's time for the main event. Let's put them side by side and see exactly where they clash and where they might, just might, agree. This really cuts right to the chase, doesn't it? Is learning just a tool to get to a specific, measurable result? Or is learning the actual journey of discovery itself? This one philosophical split is the source of all the practical differences we're about to see. Let's break this down a bit. In the product model, an objective is super specific, like the student will be able to list the 3 main causes of the war. But in the process model, it's more of a general idea, like the student will explore the concept of conflict. That difference leads straight to flexibility. The product model is pretty rigid, while the process model can adapt on the fly. And look at how they're graded. One relies on a big final test, the other on continuous feedback and reflection. And maybe most importantly, the student goes from being a passive recipient of knowledge to an active, hands-on participant. So after seeing them go head-to-head, we gotta ask the million-dollar question: which one of these blueprints is actually better? And the answer is, well, it depends. And I know that sounds like a cop-out, but there's no single winner here. The best approach really hinges on the context. I mean, think about it. Are you training a surgeon who needs to master incredibly precise, measurable skills? The product model is probably essential. But what if you're trying to foster creativity and critical thinking in an art class? The process model seems like a much better fit, right?
So here's the key takeaway. If you need something that's focused on a clear outcome, highly structured and easy to measure, the product model is your go-to. If you need something that's more focused on the experience, that's flexible and puts the learner first, you'll want the process model. They're basically two different tools for two very different jobs.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. As the world keeps changing, what kind of learners do we really need to be creating? Do we need people who are experts at meeting specific outcomes? Or do we need people who are masters of the learning process itself? Maybe the real challenge, the real blueprint for the future, is finding the perfect way to blend them both.